Part 116. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1182. Second update. Do you think I'm a bit narcissistic and don't know what to say? Zhao Bingbing looked at a few people with a smile and raised an eyebrow. I'm just telling the truth. You have to be honest, right? Yes, you have to be honest. Chu Xia looked at her funny. It's just that as honest as you are, I guess many people's understanding will be a little different from what you think. Indeed. Zhao Bingbing nodded. Because of my personality, all the talents in the family are attracted to Zhao Weiwei, but I just feel that if I deny myself, who else can look up to me? Bingbing, I have a slightly different opinion. Wu Jingbo looked at her seriously. The more you emphasize it, it means you care about other people's opinions. In fact, if you can really think about it, what does it matter if others look down on you? As long as you work hard and do your best, whatever others say, just let them go. You have to live your own life. Those who say bad things about you can neither feed you nor clothe you, nor can they decide your future. Who cares what they do? That's what I say, but it's so difficult to do. Zhao Bingbing said bitterly, you are not in my position, so you really can't understand my mood. I'm not in your position, but the difficulties I face are no less than yours. Our ancestors were imperial doctors, and they have been passed down from generation to generation. By our generation, they have lost their original glory. However, even if no one wants to engage in this profession. But my eyes were focused on what I wanted. Originally, my grandfather designated me as his successor. But because I chose to study Western medicine, many people said that I was not qualified to be the successor. They also said that I had not made any decent achievements so far, so I was not worthy to be the successor. I signed up here without arguing with them. I hope that through this experience, they can see my progress. Of course, I also hope that through this exercise, I can achieve some reasonable results. But even in the end, I didn't achieve what I wanted. There is nothing shocking about it, because I lived according to my own wishes, and I am very happy now. I want to be the successor of the Wu family. It's not because I want those extraneous things too much. I just don't want to disappoint my grandfather, so I have to work hard for it. If the result is not satisfactory, I will neither blame myself nor God. I can only say that with my current ability, this is the only step I can take. I have a clear conscience and that's enough. I believe Grandpa will not blame me. So, fundamentally speaking, we have similarities. On the one hand, when you come here, you want to be on par with Zhao Weiwei and prove your strength. On the other hand, don't you hope that you can become the pride of your parents? You also said that Zhao Weiwei was better than you in many things since she was a child, but at that time you regarded her as a role model and a good sister, so you didn't feel disappointed. Now, after being plotted by her, you have learned the hard way and made such a choice. I believe that your family will be reluctant to let you leave from the bottom of their hearts. But in the end, they were persuaded by you not because they wanted you to achieve great results, but because they wanted you to achieve great results. I hope you can be truly happy and truly come out, but you better not let them down. After pondering for a long time, Zhao Bingbing looked at Wu Jingbo gratefully. You're right, I'm too pushy. Don't worry, I will adjust my mentality and try my best to do my best. Chu Xia, come out. Listening to the shouts of the division commander Zhangzi coming from outside, Chu Xia smiled at a few people, quickly got up and ran out. We are so loving. We were separated for just a few minutes and we came here. Zhao Bingbing stood up smoothly, tiptoed towards the tent door, opened a crack and looked outside, and called to Lu Xiaomei, you haven't seen me yet. Come and take a look at our teacher. After a moment of hesitation, Lu Xiaomei followed and took a look outside. However, before the two of them could get into their correct postures, The two female soldiers and Chu Xia came back and lifted the door curtain, almost knocking them over. Oh my god! Zhao Bingbing was so frightened that she slapped her chest and stared at Chu Xia dissatisfied. You must know that I will be curious and deliberately hurt me, right? The conscience of heaven and earth, you really don't blame me. Chu Xia looked at her funny. It's not like you haven't met Zhou Mikang before. What are you curious about? Xiaomei was dragged here by you, right? She said with concern and looked at the frowning hugger. Lu Xiaomei, who was wearing her legs, said, take off your shoes and take a look. If your feet are injured, quickly pack them up. Just now, Zhao Bingbing quickly backed away in a hurry, and stepped hard on Lu Xiaomei's foot. It's okay. Lu Xiaomei forced a smile. If the skin is broken, I can try it out, but it's just that I haven't calmed down yet. It will be fine after a while. Chu Xia pointed to the two female soldiers who came in with her and introduced them. Let me introduce to you, this is Zhao Zhu and this is Li Maifeng. They both live in our dormitory. The next action will be taken by the few of us. It's a group. Li Maifeng is a serious girl with a square face. After Chu Xia finished the introduction, she nodded to everyone, which was considered as a greeting. Zhao Zhu has a round face and two small dimples when he smiles. He is easy to get along with at first glance, and his personality is more outgoing than Zhao Zhu. He smiled at everyone before saying anything, and introduced himself and Zhao Zhu in detail. We used to be in the second medical team. Considering that everyone has just arrived and is not familiar with the situation, we have been assigned to your sixth team. From now on, we will be comrades in arms, so please take care of us. Please take care of me, Zhao Bingbing said quickly. Senior, it is our honor to come. By the way, the two seniors also want to live here, right? Zhao Zhu smiled and nodded. Of course, everyone squeezes in the quilt and goes to sleep. The conditions here are like this. I can only ask everyone to have a harder time. While the others were talking, Lu Xiaomei had already run to the bed she had made and folded the mattress in half. This is how I sleep at home. I'm used to it. This saves some space. Okay, let's squeeze together. It's warm and lively. Following suit, Zhao Bingbing also folded her mattress in half and moved it inside, then looked at Chu Xia and Wu Jingbo. You guys keep doing this, just enough for 2 extra beds. No need to go to such trouble, Li Maifeng said as she walked to the bunk bed and started to move the mattresses one by one. Under special circumstances, a series of bunks were placed in a tent, which could sleep 12 people. Now plus Zhao Zhu and Li Maifeng, there were exactly 14 of them, and the space for 2 people was freed up by moving the mattress slightly inward. What are you doing? A long-faced female soldier came in and saw Li Maifeng dragging the bedding. She became anxious, stepped forward and grabbed Li Maifeng's arm, and protested, why are you touching my bedding? There are 2 more people in this tent. We need to move the bedding. Li Maifeng looked at her lightly and took a step back. Since you are back, just move it yourself. Why do other tents sleep 12 people, but our tent sleeps 14? There is no reason, this is a rule. Li Maifeng clapped her hands and walked back to Chu Xia and others. Everyone, please take the time to move. You don't have to wait for the captain to arrive before taking action. As soon as the captain was mentioned, the hot-haired female soldier immediately became obedient and moved her mattress inward obediently. She also looked at the female soldier sleeping next to her and said, it's your turn, come here quickly. After a while, the position was vacated, leaving Chu Xia stunned. When Li Maifeng started to move, she wanted to stop her. After all, it was wrong to move someone's luggage before the victim came back. She hesitated, and then she felt that they had just met and they were here to protect her. If she said this, the person who pointed it out seemed to be a bit pretentious, so he simply gave up. When the long-faced girl came in to accuse, she regretted it. The people sent by Zhou Mikang must have bad tempers. If the matter got serious, it would eventually involve her. If she did it, she would not be able to do it. I don't want others to gossip. Unexpectedly, before she finished worrying, the situation took a turn for the worse and the matter was resolved peacefully. This also made her understand once again that when thinking about problems in the future, she must not judge them by her own thoughts, but by the general behavioral awareness of people of this era. Especially since they are just here, who would want to make the leader unhappy over such a trivial matter? People today are not like the era she lived in, where they would not suffer any losses. Wu Jingbo and Zhao Bingbing's family backgrounds are there, and they are both smart. They can naturally guess what is going on with the two female soldiers who came with Chu Xia. Therefore, in all the activities that followed, the two of them took the initiative to involve Zhao Zhu and Li Maifeng. After dinner, Chu Xia took advantage of the three of them to go to the toilet together and thanked Wu Jingbo and Zhao Bingbing. They were not fools. It was better to be honest about some things than to hide them. You don't regard me as a friend, right? I'm really envious of your teacher's arrangement, but I definitely don't think he's using the back door. After all, there are too many threats around you, so be careful. Okay. And Zhao Bingbing blinked her big eyes with a proud look on her face. We can just take advantage of it. What a happy thing. You come to thank us. We should be the ones thanking you. Yes, this is a good thing that is hard to find even in a lantern. Anyway, I have figured it out. It's not easy for Xiaoxian to fight with us, but I have to flatter you and follow the teacher's wife. Then there will definitely be meat. There is soup. Unexpectedly, Wu Jingbo also made a joke. Okay, then you just follow me closely. If there is meat and soup, I will never leave you behind. Chu Xia was not pretentious, and agreed with a smile, and added, but if there is no meat and soup, it won't work either. Blame me. Zhao Bingbing replied to her with a smile, don't worry, we chose the road ourselves. Of course I don't blame you. What I'm curious about is that you and your wife have been separated for so long. Shouldn't you go see Mr. Master now? To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1183. The days are long, not just this moment. 4 or 5 Chinese proportionality. Chu Xia glanced at Zhao Bingbing. I stress again, I am here because of official business, understand? Of course I understand. I'm just caring about you. Zhao Bingbing held Chu Xia's arm with a smile and lowered her voice and said, but people can't be so rigid, right? Wu Jingbo also echoed, yes, Chu Xia, don't you feel bad when you see your teacher become dark and thin? For the teacher, you are the best medicine. It's rare that the situation is not tense during this period. You should spend more time with the teacher. As for other people's gossip, leave it alone. You didn't delay the teacher's work and did what you should do. Could it be that for the sake of others' opinions, the couple after finally meeting each other, you still want to avoid suspicion? Okay, don't come up with bad ideas. Chu Xia looked at the two of them speechlessly. We are on the battlefield now, I am here, and here is enough for him. When I sent Zhao Zhu and Li Maifeng over, I was worried that what he did was too obvious and would cause the team members to exclude me. But in the end, he handed them over to me and left without my instructions. Others have indeed seen how much effort he has put in, but I don't want those with evil intentions to deny his efforts because of my arrival. As long as I have time, I will go see him, but there is no need to go several times a day. Not only do I not want the rumors to affect him, but I also do not want to affect the morale of the military. There are also some officers and soldiers who come here after getting married. They have not been reunited with their relatives for more than a year. If I appear in front of Zhou Mixang frequently, it will make these people miss their families even more. They are not trying to compare with Zhou Mikang. Let's not think that Zhou Mikang will use the back door because of this matter. This is just their instinctive reaction. Think about ourselves. If you haven't seen your loved ones for a long time, how would you feel if one of them has a family member coming to visit? Don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you. Although I also want to see him and spend more time with him, but I can't help but care about others, not because I'm afraid, but because I feel sorry for them. Stayed here for over a year. They were all suffering so much. When I came, I saw Joe Mixang and knew that he was safe and healthy. Can stay here. It is already a very happy thing. After being silent for a while, Wu Jingbo sighed, okay, you are right. Since you have decided, let's do it. However, you have to remember what you said. When you have time, go and see the teacher more often. Of all the people here, he is the most tired. Not only is your body tired, but your heart is also the one that bears the most. Don't ignore your husband just because you care about others. I know. Chu Xia looked at Wu Jingbo funny. When I came here I realized that you are actually very considerate and talkative. With Xiaoxing and Xiaoli chattering away, I'm really embarrassed to rush to talk. Wu Jingbo's eyebrows showed nostalgia. However, I really enjoy the state of everyone being together. So you're not happy being with me? Zhao Bingbing looked at the other party with a look of resentment. Anyway, I'm standing right in front of you, so you can save some face. Wu Jingbo rolled his eyes at her. I can't tell that you are quite sensitive. When did I say that I am not happy with you? It's just because we have been together for too long, and we are not used to it when we are separated. I have envied the relationship between you two before, and I also wanted to take the initiative to find you, but because of Chenzi, I was always embarrassed to take that step. It's okay now. We are considered very close friends. When I go back, I want to join your small team. If there is any party, I can't be missed in any fun things. Don't worry, I won't miss you. Chu Xia patted her shoulder solemnly, but found that her body was a little stiff, so he followed her line of sight doubtfully. It turned out that Zhao Weiwei was standing not far away. Chu Xia pulled her up and said, let's go. When you come here, you have to be fully mentally prepared to face her every day. How can you always be in this state? You have to treat the other person as nothing, do you understand? Okay. Zhao Bingbing straightened her back and walked forward without squinting. When she and Zhao Weiwei crossed paths, she didn't even look at each other. She didn't want to talk to Zhao Weiwei, but that didn't mean that the other person didn't want to talk to her either. Bingbing, I came here specifically to find you. What happened in the afternoon was not my fault and I shouldn't question you. In fact, I'm also worried about you, so don't be angry, okay? After being called out, he couldn't continue to pretend not to hear. Zhao Bingbing turned around and looked at the other person with a frown. Don't be angry. Which thing are you referring to that tells me not to be angry? Bingbing, I have broken up with Lang Yi. In fact, the two of us have never been on good terms. I have always had obstacles in my heart, and I really can't invest in him. For me, my sister is more important than my boyfriend, so I finally made this choice. When she said these words, Zhao Weiwei kept staring at Chu Xia, and Chu Xia was speechless. This was basically taking the opportunity to talk to Zhao Bingbing to observe herself. Haha. Is there something wrong with your eyes? Zhao Bingbing asked. When did you become strabismus? Zhao Bingbing looked at her sarcastically. If it were me before, I would indeed believe what you said, but are you too forgetful? After Lang Yi told me that he liked you, I went to find you. You told me clearly that you couldn't capture a man's heart and you had no right to blame others. Then, you went out with him openly, and asked the whole family to persuade me to let go and stop making unnecessary efforts. Well, I let go, but you found a new goal. The reason why you came to me now is to get closer to early summer, right? Zhao Weiwei, do you have any sense of shame? Lang Yi and I are not engaged or married, so you can just grab him. Mr. Joe has a wife and a son. How can you have the nerve to have such thoughts? Don't deny it to me. You know what you said to your aunt on the phone. I'm warning you to put away those thoughts that you shouldn't have immediately, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Why do I have to come here? I just want to come here to keep an eye on you and prevent you from harming the people around you. I also tell you clearly that Chusia was incited by me to come here. I hope you can see clearly. How good is Mr. Joe's wife? Stop doing things that don't overestimate your capabilities. Even if you are shameless, I still want to do it. Even if I don't like you, I am still a family member with you. I can't write two Zhao Lai in one sentence. If you do something ugly, our whole family will be affected. If in your heart if you care about your loved ones even a little bit, don't let yourself make mistakes anymore. When Zhao Bingbing accused her, Zhao Weiwei kept smiling. Although the smile was a bit fake, it always stayed on her face. No wonder Zhao Bingbing was no match for her, and she was able to pry her into a corner. It was too easy for such a tolerant woman to seduce a man who didn't have much experience. But at the same time, such a woman is overestimating her abilities if she wants to seduce her master. Chu Xia, who originally wanted to warn Zhao Weiwei a few words, suddenly lost interest in talking to the other party. Just because she came to meet him by chance in the middle of the night, it was not worth her worry. Although she has good endurance, she is still a little too young and can't hold her breath. Originally, she was just worried that Zhou Mikang was too busy and might fall into the trap of a girl with impure thoughts. Now it seems that her worries are really extra. When being accused by Zhao Bingbing, Zhao Weiwei had been observing Chu Xia's face. When she saw that the other party was neither angry nor resentful, but just looking at her indifferently, her heart sank. Why did she come here so late at night? She knew Zhao Bingbing's character very well. Now that she had lost face, she would never give her any face. What she wanted was for Zhao Bingbing to express her thoughts clearly. She believed that a woman from the countryside would be furious when she learned about the threat from the outside world. She is not afraid of the other party scolding her and hitting her. The harder he scolds her and the harder he hits her, the more beneficial it will be to her. Gentleness has always been her greatest weapon. She believes that if this woman makes such a fuss, the teacher will definitely pay attention to her. Then, she can really figure out what will happen in the future. But why? There is no imaginary anger, nor imaginary resentment. Through the dim light, she could clearly see that the other person's appearance was indeed very pleasing, which made her even more unsure. I originally thought that my gentleness and beauty were the best weapon, but now it seems that this woman does not lack these two things. So, what should she do? It wasn't until Chu Xia pulled Zhao Bingbing out all the way that Zhao Weiwei sighed secretly and turned back to the tent where she lived. When she opened the door and entered, she spotted Fang Tingxiang who was rolling her eyes at her, and she suddenly had an idea. "Have you met the teacher's wife?" Zhao Weiwei asked everyone with a smile. The teacher's wife, someone looked up at her. "Are you right? How could the teacher's wife come here at this time? How could I have made a mistake? The teacher's wife is among the supplementary staff and lives in a dormitory with my sister. I just went to see my sister. She is very beautiful and has quite a temperament. No wonder the teacher can see it. Her, let alone, the two of them are really a good match." "Then aren't you very disappointed?" Fang Tingxiang smiled sarcastically. "You have been trying every means to get close to the teacher. Now that you see the real master coming, are you going crazy with jealousy?" "Yes, I like the teacher." "Do you dare to say that you don't like it?" Zhao Weiwei looked at her calmly. "But I can quickly adjust my position. After meeting the teacher's wife, I already knew my love is all in vain, so naturally I won't do anything stupid again, but you, on the other hand, are quite worrying." To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1185. 2 in 1. You are too self-righteous. Fang Tingxiang looked at Zhao Weiwei with a half smile. You hit a snag, and you want me to hit you? Haha, do you really think I'm a fool? I just kindly remind you that if you are interested in the teacher, you should weigh it before taking action, so as not to get nothing and lose everything. Yes, I like the teacher. I believe that there are few people in our team who don't like the teacher, and there are also few who don't know your persistence and mine. Because of this, I feel that we are on the same side, so I kindly remind you. You. Unexpectedly. Zhao Weiwei shook her head and sighed, forget it, since you don't appreciate it, I won't say anything more. Anyway, I have done what I should do, so you can take care of yourself. This is what I want to say to you. For the sake of your own future, you should take care of yourself. Fang Tingxiang looked at Zhao Weiwei coldly. Also, don't compare yourself with me, and don't say what our thoughts are. Same, you and I are definitely different. What's the difference? Zhao Weiwei curled her lips. A fool can see your teacher's intentions, but you still have the nerve to say anything different, haha. Yes, I like the teacher, I admit that, and I am also crazy about him, because until now, he is the most charming man I have ever seen. However, I like him, and I have never wanted to destroy my teacher's family, nor have I ever wanted to develop something with him. It's my business to like him, do you understand? What about you? Fang Tingxiang looked at her sarcastically. You like him because you want him. The way you look at him is too naked. A woman who wants to destroy other people's families is not qualified to compare with me. Do you understand? Don't think that you are so great, you are so obsessed with him, you are so obviously trying to please him, and you even say that you don't want to destroy his family or get involved in his life. Who will believe it? If you really want to be like what you said, you should stay aside silently and don't let others see your intentions. Fang Tingxiang, you are so hypocritical and say that I am not qualified to compare with you. You are really interesting. Originally, I just thought that our ideas were similar anyway, but for now, we are on the same starting line and have the same identity, so our sense of identity is relatively stronger. Just because we share the same problem, I don't want you to end up with a bad outcome, so I deliberately remind you. It seems that I am really nosy. Okay, from now on, you will walk on your Yangguan road, and I will walk on my single plank bridge. Don't interfere with each other. Who wants to interfere with you? Fang Tingxiang smiled slightly and looked Zhao Weiwei up and down. Why are you getting angry because you didn't succeed in provoking me? In fact, your original intention was to provoke me to become competitive and go to the teacher to do inappropriate things, right? Then, you can reap the benefits, right? I never knew that someone could confuse right and wrong to this extent. Zhao Weiwei smiled faintly and sighed, forget it, just pretend that I didn't say anything. That's it? Don't show such an innocent look to me, it makes me sick. Fang Tingxiang shuddered as she said this, I'm not a man, and I won't accept your behavior. Zhao Weiwei, you can steal your sister's boyfriend and dump him immediately when you see someone better. This level of courage is beyond the reach of ordinary people. But, don't blame me for not reminding you, your so-called ex-boyfriend is incomparable to your teacher. Do you really think that you are infinitely charming if you let a stupid young man lose his head over you? You can be friendly with whomever you want. Already. I just don't want to tell you these nonsense. Do you think I really don't know? How shameless. You. Zhao Weiwei was so angry that her lips trembled. After being with Fang Tingxiang for so long, in her impression, the other party is a hot-tempered and careless person, so I thought of taking advantage of her. Unexpectedly, the other party not only saw her purpose clearly, but also showed no mercy at all. She just had to think about it for herself. If someone really said it like this, no matter how good her psychological quality was, she still couldn't accept it. When she first chose Lang Yi, she really thought that that was the person she would be with for the rest of her life. Moreover, seeing how attentive Lang Yi was to Zhao Bingbing at that time, she was a little unwilling to be held in the palm of her hand since she was a child. But after she really got along with the other person, she realized that the other person was not a good match for her at all. Especially after meeting Zhou Mikang, she felt that Lang Yi was really too naive. Speaking of which, it was entirely because of Zhou Mikang that she had reached this stage. If she had not met Zhou Mikang in the hospital, she would not have forgotten him, let alone signed up to come to the front line. Regarding her choice, everyone thought she was doing it for the sake of her future. Only she knew clearly that she had had other thoughts from here on out. A woman as outstanding as her needs a better man to be worthy of her. As for the fact that the other party is married, she has also done a detailed investigation. There is a big difference between having to choose someone to get married because your family forces you to do so, and getting married because you truly love each other. How could such an outstanding man be trapped by such a mediocre woman? Especially after learning that the woman married Zhou Mikang, built a house for her family, and brought her parents with her, she felt even more that the woman was not worthy of her teacher. Originally, she thought that with her excellence and gentleness, the teacher would be attracted to her quickly, and even secretly regretted that if the teacher had met her earlier, they would be a pair of gods by now. Unfortunately, assumptions are always the most useless, so she decided to rely on her own efforts to strive for happiness. However, the facts poured a lot of cold water on her head. No matter how hard she worked, no matter how well she performed, no matter how many times she appeared in front of the division commander, the other party would treat her indifferently, just like any other female soldier. Probably, among all the people here, she is the only one who is least looking forward to the end of the war, because the sooner it ends, the smaller her chance of success. Unfortunately, she had calculated everything, but she never expected that the teacher's wife would choose to come here. What she couldn't understand even more was why the teacher was so gentle to that woman. She has been here for more than a year, and she has never seen the teacher smile. She always thought that the teacher was such a serious person, but today, she saw the teacher smiling so tenderly at that woman. It turns out that the teacher is not so cruel to everyone. What she doesn't understand is, what is there about a rural girl that the teacher likes? In other words, men are all visual animals, just because the woman is young and good looking. But overall, she didn't feel that she was any worse than the other person. Although her appearance was not as beautiful as that woman's, her talent should be more attractive. In the past, she always thought that getting a teacher was a sure thing. But today, when she saw the scene between the teacher and his wife, she had doubts about her judgment. This kind of suspicion made her feel like she wanted to explode. Because of this, she decided to use Fang Tingxiang, a brainless person. With Fang Tingxiang in the front line, she could not only divert the division commander's attention, but also make the rural woman lose her sense of control. When the time comes, she will not believe that she will not be in the eyes of the teacher. She never expected that Fang Tingxiang, a woman, was not as brainless as she thought, and actually saw her intentions. If this continues, won't her hope become increasingly slim? Ha ha ha. Seeing the expression on Zhao Weiwei's face, Fang Tingxiang laughed proudly and rolled her eyes at her. Idiot. You. What are you? Fang Tingxiang rolled her eyes at her again. You think other people are so easy to take advantage of? Do you think they are all your cousins, and you are stupid enough to believe you? Haha, you are probably used to acting coquettishly from grown men, and you have already can't you recognize yourself? Your method does work for some men who don't have eyesight, but for girls, it's just as disgusting as a clown. Okay. I make up my words when I talk, and I'm double dealing when I do things. I don't want to expose you because I think it's unnecessary. I have to send it to your door. I really feel sorry for you if I don't explain it to you. Zhao Weiwei felt like her head was pounding. She wasn't sure if everyone really looked at her like Fang Tingxiang said, which she couldn't accept. She had always been praised by others since she was a child. When she was at school, she was a good student and her teachers liked her. When she was at home, she was an obedient child and her elders liked her. As for her friends and siblings, she was always the one who was surrounded by others. Why did everything change when we got here? No, Fang Tingxiang was bluffing her. Trying hard to suppress the rising anger in her heart, Zhao Weiwei forced out a smile. Forget it, you don't need to get angry and beat me up. It doesn't matter if you can't listen to what I said. We just need to have less contact in the future. There is no need to be like this. You keep throwing dirty water on me, right? It's up to you. Fang Tingxiang turned around and left. I'm too lazy to waste time with you. The cold wind blew into her neck. Zhao Weiwei shivered and came back to her senses. The surroundings were empty, and her heart was also empty. If her purpose cannot be achieved, then what's the point of her coming here? Her boyfriend broke up but she couldn't find a better one. How will she face it when she goes back? Still want to persist? Looking at the approaching figure, Zhao Weiwei frowned. Why are you so haunted? I don't want to talk to you, please stay away from me, okay? Hey, have you lost your mind? Yamiru looked at her lightly. You still want to compete with Lin Chuxia with your modest skills? Haha, you are overestimating your abilities. I said, you have no right to speak against me. Indeed, I am not qualified to criticize you. I admit that I am a loser in front of Lin Chuxia, but it is precisely because of this that I don't want to see you become like me. Of course, there is nothing wrong with me now. Compared to before, I know more clearly what I want and what the goal of my efforts is. However, if possible, I still hope to be the carefree self who is pampered by my parents. Unfortunately, some things in this world will never be the same. I advise you, because you haven't made a big mistake yet, I'm just giving you a heads up. I hope you can correct your mentality and think carefully about what I said. Are you so kind? Zhao Weiwei stared at Yamiru with disbelief. They say it is difficult to change a person's character. You act like a holy mother, do you think I will believe it? It's up to you whether you believe it or not, and it's up to me whether you do it or not. Yamiru reached out and patted her shoulder. Girl, you are still too young, okay, don't think too much, go back and rest early. Until Yamiru disappeared, Zhao Weiwei still looked confused. She was a little confused. Did this Yamiru sincerely persuade her, or did he have some purpose? After thinking about it, she ran after him. Do you think Yamiru has really changed? Three figures emerged from the darkness, and the one who spoke was Wu Jingbo. She knew very well what Yamiru had done before, so she was particularly confused at this moment. Whether she has changed or not, I can't say. Shaking her head, Chu Xia pulled the two of them back. Anyway, I don't plan to have any more contact with her. I suspect that she discovered that we were eavesdropping. Zhao Bingbing frowned. You guys stay here and don't move. I'll try it from the angle she just walked over to see if I can see it. No need. Chu Xia grabbed her. I still say the same thing. She has changed, or she has not changed. It is impossible for me to have any contact with her. Ignore her and go back to rest. It was not that she wanted to stay and listen to Chiang General just now. Several people had already walked to the tent, and were forcibly pulled back by Zhao Bingbing. Unexpectedly, they listened to the conversation between Zhao Weiwei, Fang Tingxiang, and Yamiru. Clearly, Chu Xia secretly found it funny. Her teacher was such a disaster, causing all the girls to be so troubled. She didn't know whether he knew it or not. How was your rest yesterday? During breakfast, Huang Sui sat across from Chu Xia with a meal and whispered, "The conditions here are a bit difficult. You will definitely not adapt when you first come here." "It's okay for me." Chu Xia smiled faintly at her, "You also know that my family used to be from a rural area. I have never endured any kind of hardships. Where are we now?" When she said this, Chu Xia did not lower her voice. Zhao Weiwei, who was sitting in the next row, paused with her chopsticks for a subtle moment. Inexplicably, she felt that the words were directed at her. "Okay, it'll be good if you can adapt." Huang Sui smiled at Chu Xia, "Don't get me wrong, I'm not looking down on you. When I first came here, I was very uncomfortable. I couldn't sleep for a long time, and I was terribly sleepy during the day. The state lasted for a week before I finally got used to it." "Really?" Zhao Bingbing looked at her with wide eyes, "I didn't get much sleep last night. When I asked Chu Xia and Jingbo this morning, they both slept until dawn, and Xiao Mei and I were still upset about me. The adaptability is too poor. Originally, it wasn't that we were poorly adaptable, but that she was too adaptable. Yes, there are indeed very few people who can adapt as quickly as they did." Looking at the time, Huang Sui stood up and clapped her hands. "The team members who just arrived yesterday gathered at the door after eating. Today we will go to the injured area to adapt. Come on, starting tomorrow, you will officially take up your duties." "Yes." After a neat response, everyone speeded up their meal. The wounded area is located behind the male soldiers' dormitory. There are more than 30 tents in total. Each tent can accommodate 10 wounded soldiers. Currently, only a dozen tents are full. Patients with particularly serious injuries will be transferred to the rear hospitals. The seriously ill patients who are still here have not had time to be transferred out. Normally everyone should pay special attention to the care of these wounded people. There are also some who, although they need to stay in bed to recuperate, can regain their fighting strength in a short time. All you have to do is help them with debridement and dressing change, and help with rehabilitation. When a war breaks out, every wounded person must be treated as quickly as possible, because in that situation, time is life." When Huang Sui introduced them, Chu Xia looked at the wounded in the tent. Although they were all bandaged, they were all in good spirits. When they saw them coming in, some even stood up and greeted them politely. However, when we reached the 7th tent, everyone's mood began to sink. The first few tents were filled with patients with minor injuries, and the ones further back were more seriously injured. Especially when they saw 2 soldiers who were only 18 or 19 years old and lost their legs, most of the team members' eyes turned red uncontrollably. Chu Xia turned around and quietly wiped the corners of his eyes, although he knew that there would be casualties along with the war. But when she really saw it, she still couldn't accept it. 18 or 19 years old, the best years, life has not officially begun yet. Because of such pain, laughter may be far away from them in this life. Even if they can think about it, reality is cruel. Whether it is impact video works or various publicity, they promote the spirit of being strong despite being physically disabled. However, how easy is it to achieve this? It's fine if a person has had less than others since he was a child. A sudden disaster like this is the hardest thing for people to accept. If what was shown in the first few tents was an optimistic outlook, then when it comes it's really lifeless here. Soldiers are also human beings, and it is not particularly easy for them to figure this out. The last tent was full of seriously ill people. Huang Sui just took everyone to look at the door and did not let everyone in. "Don't go in here. What they need is a better rest." Everyone knows why they should not go in, because their bodies need absolute quiet rest, and they are even struggling on the line of life and death. This feeling is something that people at the back cannot understand. Now, when everything is truly revealed in front of us, that kind of touch, that kind of helplessness, makes everyone feel depressed immediately. Including Zhao Bingbing, there was no revenge in her heart. Compared with them, what was her own grievance? She was sad because of what happened to her, and she always thought about how to get it back, but as for these people, they wanted to let everyone live a happy life, but they ruined her own happiness for the rest of her life. Even if you recover, you will never be the same again. On the way back, everyone was very silent. Huang Sui didn't say anything. She can understand everyone's mood. She was like this when she first came here. Now, I can't say that she is numb, but she has really adapted to it. So what if you don't adapt? If crying and being sad can solve the problem, she can also do it. Unfortunately, it is the most useless behavior here. She won't say anything to the new team members, but after a while, if it still looks like this, then you have to consider sending people back. What is needed here is strong team members. With this in mind, she turned to look at Chu Xia. Unlike most people's tears and sadness, her face showed a kind of perseverance. This made Huang Su sigh secretly in his heart. No wonder that such a proud man could fall in love with such a little girl. She was indeed different. Compared with those of her peers, she was wise beyond her years. After completing the circle, it was almost noon. When we arrived at the dormitory area, Huang Sui stopped and said, "Let's go have lunch after a break. In the afternoon, it is free time. To put it bluntly, I just want you to adapt to the life here. Starting tomorrow, shifts will be officially scheduled. At that time, everyone must act in accordance with the rules and regulations. If you can't do it, you can explain it to me in advance and I will approve you to go back early." Go back early? That means being fired. It's all about face. Who would want to be kicked back like that? The little head that was originally drooping straightened up. No matter what, I felt comfortable or not, so I had to show off my momentum first. Hey. Zhao Bingbing sighed heavily while eating and looked at Chu Xia. If you don't see it with your own eyes, you can never imagine how cruel war is. To be honest, now I feel that my own affairs are really nothing. I even look down on myself. I live such a comfortable life in the rear, and I never thought that someone would make such a big sacrifice. Am I still considered a human being if I am immersed in my own emotions all day long? Okay, there's no need to rush into self-criticism. Chu Xia looked at her helplessly. When you say it like this, it seems that we are no longer human beings. Can you not overturn a whole boat of people with one pole? I didn't mean it. Zhao Bingbing looked embarrassed. You are different from me, Jingbo Xiaomei is different from me, I am talking about myself. Glanced at Zhao Weiwei's position, she frowned. She has been here for a year, why hasn't she changed at all? If it were me, there would definitely be a big change. From this point of view, she is really cruel. I just said, don't worry about those messy little things. Why did this start again in a blink of an eye? Chu Xia looked at her helplessly. If you continue to act like this, you will make us look down on you. That's right. Wu Jingbo nodded in agreement. Originally, I seemed to have looked away from what I said, but then I opened my mouth again and went back. Bing Bing, you are contradicting yourself. R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1186. 1 Update. I'm just comparing her now. Zhao Bingbing explained hurriedly, I just feel that I was so deeply touched on the first day I came here. She has been here for so long, how can she do anything? Nothing has changed. Chu Xia sighed and said, everyone is different, and the bottom line is naturally different. Maybe she was touched when she first came here, but as time went by, she became numb. If that's the case, it's better than being numb from the beginning. Zhao Bingbing couldn't help but sigh, it's just that we like to think the best about people. Who knows what she is actually like? What she is really like, you will gradually understand. Chu Xia looked at Zhao Bingbing seriously, So what you have to do now is to do what you want to do wholeheartedly, and don't take her fault for granted. Punish yourself. Yes. Wu Jingbo nodded in agreement. Bingbing always ponders Zhao Weiwei's affairs subconsciously. In fact, not only does this not help, it will also affect your mood. Although our current work is not dangerous, it requires concentration and carefulness. If your emotions affect your work, all your wishes may come true. I understand. Zhao Bingbing's expression also became solemn. I want to change this problem of mine. Although I was touched and felt that my original ideas were narrow, I unconsciously compared myself with Zhao Weiwei. This is indeed not a good thing. From now on, I will strictly demand myself, and you will supervise me, okay? Chu Xia smiled and said, there is no problem in supervising you, as long as you don't get annoyed. How could it be possible? How can I be so narrow-minded? Zhao Bingbing raised her hand to swear, I promise, no matter what you say, I will not be annoyed. Really? Lu Xiaomei looked at her carefully, is it true that you won't be annoyed by anything we say? Really? Zhao Bingbing nodded vigorously, I keep my word. Then I'm relieved. Lu Xiaomei breathed a long sigh of relief, with a relaxed look on her face, which aroused a few people's curiosity. What exactly are you going to say? Zhao Bingbing asked. Lu Xiaomei looked at her seriously, I don't know yet, I just want to ask first to make myself feel confident. Zhao Bingbing. Chu Xia, Wu Jingbo. Xia, why are you here? After seeing his cousin, Lin Wenbin frowned tightly after seeing his cousin. Are you here to stay for a few days and then leave or what? Brother, do you think that's possible? Chu Xia looked at the other party amusedly, this is not the base of City A, I can still visit my relatives before leaving. After asking, Lin Wenbin felt that his brain was twitching. It is impossible to come and leave at a moment's notice in a place like this. The fact that my little cousin appeared here at this time must be in a business capacity. And it's obvious that he came here in an official capacity. What else could he be besides a member of the medical team? Nanan, Bai Bei are so young, how can you let them go? Lin Wenbin frowned, Xia, you are too ridiculous, Zhou Mikang didn't even count, how can I agree to this kind of thing? Listen to me, you should write your application to leave the team in advance. This is not your place to stay. The old and young at home are all in your family. Your task is to take good care of them so that Zhou Mikang can perform here with confidence. Brother, Nan Bei Bei is very sensible. I came here to discuss it with them, and there are many people taking care of them. There is nothing to worry about. Chu Xia reached out and took Lin Wenbin's arm, I came here specifically to see my eldest brother. You scold people as soon as you meet them and drive them back, brother, this is wrong of you. Then how am I right? Lin Wenbin shook his head helplessly and looked at his little cousin with a doting look on his face, with your current level, do you need to come here to prove yourself? If it's because of those bouncing and cheerful women, it's even more unnecessary. Your brother, I'm here to help you keep an eye on them. If there is any sign, brother will deal with them immediately. The last sentence was said with murderous intent. Chu Xia was moved in her heart, but she did not say polite words to the other party, yes, this is how Big Brother should protect me. Now that I'm here, if someone dares to bully me, Big Brother should also protect me, hold me. That's for sure. Whoever dares to bully my sister should first see if I agree. As he said, Lin Wenbin laughed again, however, if the eldest brother still needs to worry about this kind of thing, then Zhou Mixang, the husband, also needs to worry about it. It's so unqualified. There are always things that he can't take care of, brother, you can't stop loving me just because I'm married. Chu Xia looked at Lin Wenbin with a smirk on her face, or it's because of sister Yuan Hui, brother does it hurt me? Why doesn't eldest brother love you? Lin Wenbin looked helpless, Xia, you can't be so unfair. In the past year or so, Eldest brother has written more letters to you and made more phone calls than to you anyway. You're kidding, brother, how can you take it seriously? Chu Xia smiled and shook the other person's arm. Brother, tell the truth, are you looking forward to sister Yuan Hui coming here? No, Lin Wenbin shook his head. Although it's a bit selfish to say it, I have to tell you honestly, I don't want anyone I care about to come here. It's enough for us men to wander outside. He didn't say what he said next, but his meaning was very clear. They were taking the risk and hoped that their family would be absolutely safe. Obviously, he was clearly telling Chu Xia that he did not agree with her decision. Brother, don't worry, I will protect myself. Moreover, I am only working in the rear area, so there is no danger. Chu Xia looked at Lin Wenbin seriously. Of course I know the cruelty of war. Maybe one day, the rear area will. The future has changed, but I can promise my brother that if that day comes, I will never do anything that exceeds my ability. You have the final say in this. Lin Wenbin smiled bitterly. You have just come here, and you are in a relatively stable period, so you have no specific concept of the war at all. When a fight actually breaks out, the front and rear are almost the same. Your medical team is too far away. How can you treat the wounded in a timely manner? Of course, this kind of work must be done by someone, but I hope that the person who does this kind of work is experienced. Like you, what experience do you have in this area? Let me tell you, brother, what you did this time was just playing the piano randomly. Whether you wanted to prove yourself or get closer to Zhou Mixang and see his current situation, it was wrong. If you are not here, his worries will be less. Now that you are here, how can he concentrate on doing his own thing? Xia, you are already a mother of 2 children. You can't just do things according to your own temper, you have to think about them. No matter who is wrong between you and Zhou Mixang, the children are the ones who are hurt the most. They are so young. How can you bear to let them endure what they shouldn't have to endure? Brother. Chu Xia looked at Lin Wenbin suspiciously. Why does eldest brother only think of negative things? I wasn't so pessimistic before. Here, you must first think of the negative things in order to better protect yourself. Xia, this is not a house game, this is a real battle at the cost of life. Just yesterday. After biting his lip and being silent for a long time, Lin Wenbin said, one of my brothers was still joking with me with his front feet, but his back feet became fragmented stumps. He came here to prove his ability to his family. When I came, I tried to persuade him that he had not experienced rigorous training and was not suitable to stay here, but he said that he had already made up his mind. He said that since he was a child, his eldest brother had been the most important person in their family. He did not want to be the only wimp in the family. He said that although he was not as brave as his eldest brother, he was definitely not a coward. I couldn't persuade him, so I didn't persuade him anymore. I also felt in my heart that it was rare for him to make progress and prove himself, so I shouldn't just say depressing words to stop him. But the result? He let out a long sigh, and tears welled up in Lin Wenbin's eyes. He didn't understand the cruelty of actual combat at all, and he was eager to prove himself. The result was today's result. So Xia, I'm really surprised to see you, but the most worried thing is that I know you have an idea. If you come, I probably won't go back easily. So, no matter when the time comes, remember that saving your own life is the most important thing. Don't think that Big Brother is scaring you. This place is so cruel. Okay, Chu Xia nodded vigorously. I promise, brother, no matter when the time comes, safety will be the first thing I pay attention to. I am not just for myself, but also for the south, north, and my parents. No matter what, I won't even take my own life for granted. Lin Wenbin nodded and smiled weakly. Maybe the elder brother is making a fuss out of a molehill, but... He sighed and didn't say any more. Chu Xia patted his arm comfortingly. I understand what my eldest brother is thinking. I watched my brother leave with my own eyes. I couldn't accept it at the moment. I even had the feeling that this was not reality but a dream. I haven't gotten over this emotion yet. When you suddenly see me, you will inevitably transfer all your worries to me. Don't worry, brother, although I want to prove myself, I am not that urgent yet, and I will definitely do what I can. Okay, Lin Wenbin smiled at her. Brother also knows that he is a little overly nervous, but you also have to understand that if he didn't care so much, he wouldn't be like this. I know, Chu Xia nodded repeatedly. He wanted to ask how his brother lost his life, but he was afraid that it would make the other person more sad, so he suppressed the idea. After returning from Lin Wenbin's place, she went to Zhou Mikang's place. It happened that Zhou Mikang had just returned to the tent. When she saw Chu Xia, a smile immediately appeared on her li first marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1187. Second update. Well, I saw it, but unfortunately I scared my elder brother a little. Chu Xia gave a detailed description of Lin Wenbin's behavior after seeing him to the teacher, Tongzi, and finally asked his own question, who is that Wang Bin, what happened? Are you from the same family as the Wang family we went to before? Wang Bin is Wang Ji's cousin and is a classmate of Lin Wenbin. The relationship between the two is better than that of real brothers. Therefore, Wang Bin's departure is definitely a heavy blow to Lin Wenbin. He has just lost his best brother. Then he saw you, no wonder he would think too much about it. Sighing, Zhou Mikang put his arms around his young wife's shoulders. When you have time, go over and see him more often. He and Wang Bin once had a falling out, and they just had an affair. Knowing that the previous conflict was a misunderstanding, how can he feel better if he no longer has the chance to be brothers? No wonder I haven't heard eldest brother mention this brother. Okay, I will go and see eldest brother more often when I have time. Then I will come less often to you. Don't blame me then. Am I such a stingy person? Zhou Mikang pinched his young wife's pink cheeks and took the initiative to explain to him, Wang Bin has a brother named Wang Tai. He is a very good man. Wang Bin's mother loves him more. The younger son, this led to the growing gap between the brothers. In the past, when Wang Bin was young, he didn't care about others saying that his brother was excellent. On the contrary, he was particularly proud of his brother. However, as he grew older, the gap between him and his brother became wider and wider, and it was inevitable that he would have some thoughts in his heart. But the gap between the two was really too big. With ordinary efforts alone, it would be impossible for him to catch up with Wang Tai in this life. As this war happened, he took this as an opportunity. He had never suffered much since he was a child, and he was not suitable to come here, either physically or strategically. However, he was determined to come here, and even went on a hunger strike to protest. There was no other way, and the elders in the family finally compromised. It is estimated that the elders of the Wang family agreed on the one hand because they felt that Wang Bin had indeed reached the age where he should take responsibility. Since he had this awareness, he should be fulfilled, lest he really lose his fighting spirit because of the obstruction of his family. He came here as an ordinary soldier this time, and it was not his special request to follow Lin Wenbin, it just happened to happen. You also know about Lin Wenbin's previous girlfriend. Wang Bin also liked Wei Mian at that time, but because Wei Mian chose Lin Wenbin, he chose to let her go. Later, after your eldest brother and Wei Mian broke up, he always thought it was your eldest brother's responsibility, so he went to have a fight with your eldest brother and said that they would never be friends again. In fact, the whole thing was Wei Mian's fault. Wang Bin was a stubborn person and couldn't listen to other people's explanations, so the relationship between the two faded away. Later, when he found out that Wei Mian got married and divorced and wanted to be with Lin Wenbin again, he also understood that the conflict between him and Lin Wenbin was a joke. But because of face, He never asked Lin Wenbin to explain. When they met here this time, both of them were a little embarrassed at first. Fortunately, he was older now, and he was not as ignorant as before, so he took the initiative to explain to Lin Wenbin. Apologize. Some things are just like this. When they don't talk about it, the two of them are awkward. When one person takes the initiative to admit his mistake, the other person will immediately find the reason from himself. Then, the relationship between the two will soon return to what it was before. Wang Bin himself took the initiative to become Lin Wenbin's orderly. This matter was actually particularly difficult for Wang Bin. He had been pampered since childhood and had such a background. Being able to make such a choice represented that he was I really treat Lin Wenbin as a good brother. What happened this time was that Wang Bin saw a pine tree in the forest at the foot of the mountain, and wanted to pick some pine seeds for Lin Wenbin to replenish his body. He knew that Lin Wenbin would not agree if he told her, so he sneaked over there. As a result, stepped on a landmine. When he found it, it was already out of shape. It was not known whether he was going to collect pine seeds or because he met a patrol comrade while sneaking down and asked him what he was doing. He told the other person that he wanted to replenish the health of the regiment leader. If it weren't for this, Lin Wenbin's guilt wouldn't be so deep. Sighing, Zhou Mikang looked at his young wife seriously. I will tell you the detailed reasons, so you can have an idea when trying to persuade him. Actually, there's no way to blame anyone for this. You've seen how thin Lin Wenbin is now. He originally had a poor constitution, and the living standards here can't be compared with those in the rear. Wang Bin felt sorry for him. He went down the mountain regardless of the danger. The patrolling soldiers did not stop Wang Bin because they were worried about Lin Wenbin's health. Hey! I've discovered that the more rubbish a woman is, the more harmful she is to others. Chu Xia muttered bitterly, wiping the corners of her eyes. My eldest brother's gastrointestinal problem was also caused by being too sad when he broke up with Wei Mian. Although she can't be blamed for what's happening now, but if she hadn't been the one causing trouble in the first place, the eldest brother and Wang Bin wouldn't have broken up. If Wang Bin and his eldest brother had always been friends, and his eldest brother had given him ideas, his development would have been better than now. No matter what happened, his eldest brother would have urged him to learn more skills, so that he would not be able to help him only in this way. You won't lose your life. Zhou Mikang, please be careful and don't mess with women with evil intentions, lest one day you make a big mistake and regret it. Zhou Mikang has a black streak on his head. Why are you pointing the finger at him just by saying this? But explanation is still necessary. Don't worry, I won't give anyone a chance. As for the thoughts of some female soldiers, it's just because they are in this place. Once they leave, they will be fine. Yes, if those who are interested in you drive back, there will really be very few left. He rolled his eyes at Zhou Mikang dissatisfied, and someone looked depressed. Trouble. We can't unjustly accuse people like this. What have I done will cause trouble? Zhou Mikang looked at his little wife funny. You can't deliberately hide your clumsiness just to prevent others from worshipping you, right? Look how pretty you are. Chu Xia glared at him and snorted coldly, shameless. It doesn't matter if I am shameless in front of you. Early summer. Okay, let's be serious. Zhou Mikang's expression calmed down and he looked at his little wife seriously. You will officially start working tomorrow. Take good care of yourself. Zhao Zhu and Li Maifeng will always be by your side, no matter where you go. When the time comes, don't get separated from them, you know. I know. Chu Xia nodded. Don't worry, I'm very aware of women's jealousy and won't make fun of their own safety. However, I guess they don't have the guts either. If you have the guts, it's always good to pay attention. Zhou Mikang sighed. After a month or so, you can transfer me back. This place is really not suitable for you. Okay, Chu Xia agreed happily, and she also thought about it. Although her original thoughts were good, staying here would only make Zhou Mikang more worried and concerned. It would be better to go back. Go to the rear and let Joe Mikang focus all his attention on work. In memory, this war seems to have lasted for about 5 years intermittently. Now, with her as a variable, maybe it can be shortened, right? Boom. Da-da-da. Get up. Get up. All kinds of sounds suddenly came together, and everyone who was sleeping in a daze was startled to sit up from the bed. For a while, they couldn't figure out whether it was reality or a dream. Chu Xia rubbed her head, then woke up, quickly put on her clothes, and pushed Zhao Bingbing, who was still confused. Maybe there's a fight, hurry up. Oh oh oh. Zhao Bingbing responded repeatedly, and quickly pulled up his pants and pushed them in. Huang Sui's figure appeared at the door of the tent. Everyone, hurry up and bring your own medicine box. Your team leader will lead the team to the patient area. Quick, quick, everyone, hurry up. The team leader of the early summer dormitory is a 30-year-old eldest sister named Wang Jiaking. She is very serious and was transferred from the previous medical team. After Huang Sui's voice fell, she stood at the door and rushed everyone. Hurry up. We're not asking you to go on a blind date or go shopping now. Put on your clothes and pack your things and hurry out. No one will care whether you look good or not. As a result, after going out and standing up, before the team leader could say anything, Zhao Bingbing burst out laughing. While laughing, she poked Chu Xia with her hand and pointed to her. Looking in the direction she pointed, Chu Xia also burst into laughter. Although such behavior is very inappropriate at this time, the scene in front of me is too joyful, isn't it? She might be able to do this when she was 3 years old. What are you laughing at? Wang Jiaking glared dissatisfied at the group of people behind who were laughing, then twitched the corners of his mouth, and waved his hand at the team member who wore his shirt and pants backwards. Hurry back and put your clothes back on. You have to take care of male soldiers, how can you behave like this? As a result, after she finished speaking, the female soldier still stood there motionless, still shaking a little. The team member standing next to her quickly poked her. Li Qiao, you are wearing the wrong clothes? The team leader asked you to go back and change quickly. Wrong. The girl known as Li Qiao finally came to her senses after being poked like this. She glanced at her top and pants, her face immediately turned red to her ears, and she trotted back to the tent with her head hanging down. With this lesson learned, everyone quickly lowered their heads to check their clothes. Not to mention, except for that one, although the others were not so serious, some of them had their pants down. So, 2 more female soldiers ran back to the tent. Wang Jiaking's face turned black. Although he knew that the substitutes recruited this time were all ordinary people, it wasn't that bad, right? R1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1188. 1 update. After everyone had tidied up and lined up to arrive at the destination, the old team members of each group had already been busy, looking at the new team members with obvious disdain. According to the original plan, the new team members were required to undergo some training and specific duties before taking up their posts. However, due to the emergency situation and the shortage of personnel, the only option was to forcibly fill the positions first. There are 6 groups in the medical team. Groups 1 to 4 are old members, and groups 5 and 6 are new members who have just filled in. Huang Sui arranged for 2 groups of new members to supplement the 4 groups of old members as helpers. In Chuxia, several people were assigned to the second group. The leader of the second group was in his 30s, named Qi Xiang, with a medium build and fair complexion, but he was intimidating at first sight. Scanning the 8 girls standing in front of him, Qi Xiang's face flashed with impatience. We are responsible for the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th wards. We work in pairs and go to 4 wards to help. Yes, several people responded, quickly completed the coordination, and rushed into the ward to help. Chu Xia and Zhao Zhu entered ward number 6 together. When they entered, they almost collided with people running out. Zhao Zhu pulled Chu Xia behind him and quickly took a step back. Yamiru came out. Seeing that it was Chu Xia, a smile appeared on her lips. I didn't expect that the teacher is really willing to let you come here, haha. Before Chu Xia could answer, her figure had disappeared. Don't pay attention to her. Zhao Zhu whispered to Chu Xia, who doesn't know her thoughts? It's a pity that Zohai is still pretending here. He is a very good man. Why does he like such a woman? Until now, Chu Xia had not seen Zohai, so she asked curiously, where is Zohai now? She couldn't figure it out. What kind of position will a person who is good at technology be assigned to when he comes here? He won't also become a nurse, right? Also in the medical team. He is an authority in biology and is proficient in basic treatment. The only place he can come is here. As he spoke, Zhao Zhu sighed. Seeing that Yamiru's attitude towards him has always been indifferent, it's not worth it for him, a man who is so weak. For such a woman, I went to the gate of hell and came out together. How much perseverance do you think this takes? Chu Xia looked at Zhao Zhu. I couldn't help but joke, looking at you, you seem to like him quite a lot. You've wronged me. I'm just not worth it for Assistant OU. To be honest, Assistant OU is much better than Yamiru. Why does he like Yamiru but not Assistant OU? Anyway. Are we confused, or are men born to be mean, and they will like anyone who treats them badly? With that said, he quickly explained to Chu Xia, of course, the man I'm talking about does not include Mr. Zhou. We all admire our teachers very much. He is not only an outstanding talent in the military, but also excellent in other things. He is also so kind to his sister-in-law and so dedicated. He is definitely a good man who can only be chosen in a million. Sister-in-law, you are so lucky. You two came here to chat. A female team member frowned and looked at the two of them. Even if no injured people have been brought in yet, can't you take the initiative to help clean up? I'm not asking you to be the eldest lady when you come here. Looking at each other, the two of them stuck out their tongues and quickly went to find work. They were really looking for work. In the ward number 6 they came in, although the original patients were still unable to do strenuous activities, they had almost recovered. There was no need to change dressings or do anything else. The new wounded were still there. Before they came in, the two of them walked around inside, then picked up a rag and started wiping the tables placed beside each bed. In just 10 minutes, the two people's leisure time no longer existed. Injured soldiers were brought in continuously. Although it was the first time to face such a thing, Chu Xia was not nervous and lost her balance. She took the initiative to shoulder the responsibility. She had to bandage the injured with relatively minor injuries, and everything had to be done step by step. She would not compete with the veteran team members for a sick spot just to express herself. In fact, as far as her current level is concerned, she is not necessarily much worse than the old team members here. Don't forget, she is the apprentice of Mr. Yuan and Mr. Qi. One teaches hands-on ability, and the other teaches hands-on ability. It's just that she is the middle school student. The difference between Western medicine and Western medicine is that the beatings I have suffered for more than a year are in vain. However, except for herself, her best friends are a little unsure about these skills of hers. It's not that she is hiding her secrets, it's mainly because she has no chance to show them in front of everyone. Zhao Zhu originally worked in the medical team and was very skilled at what he did. Therefore, except for a few scoldings at the beginning, both of them performed well, and no one rejected them anymore. On the contrary, when the wounded were brought in later, everyone took the initiative to bring some with minor injuries to their side, which was a kind of care for the two of them. In fact, no matter when, as long as you do things sincerely and treat people sincerely, you should be more of a good person. Rejection of newcomers is inevitable no matter where you are, but it is also true that you have accepted them in such a short period of time. A very happy thing. Indeed, this is related to their own abilities, but the most important thing is because of the current environment. Looking at the wounded lying silently on the bed, Chu Xia's heart became heavy. Didn't we say before that casualties in every battle were very small? Why were there so many injuries this time? Although they were all minor injuries, and everyone ran out again after bandaging, but this was much more cruel than imagined. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! With shouts, Yamiru and a female team member carried a soldier in. Hurry up and ask Dr. Chiao to come over. The injured must be operated on immediately. There are a total of 6 professional doctors in the entire field medical team. Dr. Chiao is responsible for the seriously ill patients in room 6 to 9. A female team member ran out quickly, and then ran back in less than 2 minutes. Dr. Chiao is operating and needs to stay for about 10 more minutes. He told us to take emergency measures first. The bullet is lodged in the left chest and is close to hurting the heart. How should we take emergency measures? Yamiru's face turned red. Dr. Chiao is so busy that you won't go see another doctor? Time is life, understand? The female soldier bit her lip and ran out quickly. After hesitating, Chu Xia stepped forward and looked at the injured person, who was 20 years old. Due to excessive blood loss, his face was already a little pale. The injured person had already passed out. As Yamiru said, for him now, time is life. Unbutton his clothes. Yamiru frowned and looked at Chu Xia. This is not a joke. I'm not kidding, Chu Xia said as she reached out to untie the wounded man's clothes. Noticing the wounded man's slightly frowned brow, she simply picked up the scissors on one side and cut off the clothes bit by bit from bottom to top. What are you going to do? Yamiru's voice became a little sharp. Lin Chuxia, this is a life. With your current medical skills, whatever you want to do to him will simply aggravate his death. Do you understand? I won't make fun of other people's lives. He has lost too much blood now and is still bleeding. What I have to do is to help him stop the bleeding. Of course, I have to wait until the doctor comes to do anything else. How did you help him stop the bleeding? Yamiru looked at Chu Xia with some suspicion. She even felt that Chu Xia was scared and confused at the moment, so she said such words. The styptic powder has been sprinkled again and again, but it doesn't work at all. What else can she do? Picking up the tweezers, holding a sterilized cotton pad, he wiped the area around the wound bit by bit. As soon as he finished wiping, blood seeped out quickly and turned red again. He frowned. Chu Xia threw away the tweezers and took it from his pocket. She took out the silver needle that Mr. Qi had given her before she left. After learning of her decision, Mr. Qi temporarily gave her a bunch of traditional Chinese medicine first aid measures. Silver needles to stop bleeding were one of them. Before, they were just tested on molds. Now that they were actually facing the injured, Chu Xia felt a little worried. It's false, but at this point, she can't hide her clumsiness just because she cares about what others think. No matter what Yamiru said is right or not, what she said just now is right. This is a life. She couldn't watch this life disappear before her eyes for no reason. Even if what she did wasn't as perfect as she imagined, even if others would say she was overestimating her abilities, even if she failed, she still had to let herself give it a try. When she came here, she was not just a bystander. She had learned so much and hoped to actually use it one day. For her, it was not a capital to show off, but a practical skill. What are you doing? Just when Chu Xia's needle was about to be inserted, someone grabbed his arm violently. It was Qi Xiang, his brows furrowed, Who told you to do this? Get out of here. Hold her, time is life. She didn't want to explain to this woman that the town was passing by. Taking a look at Zhao Zhu who was protecting her, Chu Xia asked her to drag Qi Xiang aside. After being stunned for a moment, Zhao Zhu stepped forward and grabbed Qi Xiang, but the others saw it and gathered around. What are you doing? You are so lawless. How dare you treat the team leader like this? Let her go. Some people came to pull Zhao Zhu, and some came to pull Chu Xia. I'm rescuing people. Chu Xia frowned and looked at the female soldier holding her arm. I don't have time to explain now, can you please be sensible? I don't have a brain problem, how could I take his life? Joke. Can you stop talking nonsense? The female soldier curled her lips. You have only been here for a day. I just noticed your bandaging, but you are just skilled at it. Now you dare to say that you have the ability to save such a seriously ill patient, haha. Shaking her head, the female soldier's face turned cold. You are not overestimating your capabilities. We can't let you play with the lives of the wounded. If you leave here now, you will not be welcome in our team. The blood on the wounded man's body was still pouring out, and not only his face, but also his lips had turned white. Chu Xia was too anxious just now, so she thought of asking Zhao Zhu to hold Qi Xiang. She gave the injection first and then realized that she was still too young. These people were all Qi Xiang's subordinates, so how could they allow her to do that? However, if she delays for a while longer, even if she is given a chance, it will probably be useless. To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1189. Second update. Let her do it. Yamiru looked at the female soldier holding Chu Xia's arm seriously. Let her go and let her do it. As it is now, if the doctor doesn't come over in time, even if the bullet is removed through surgery, his life will be. It's hard to tell if she can't keep it, so it's better to let her try. I believe she's not the kind of person who makes fun of other people's lives. After hesitating, the female soldier let go of Chu Xia's arm, not because Yamiru had more authority here, but because the current situation was obvious. If it continued like this, even if the doctor came, he might not be able to save the day. If it could stop the bleeding, or there might still be a chance. It's just, looking at Qi Xiang with some trepidation, the female soldier hesitated. Team leader. That's it. Qi Xiang nodded. At this time, we should give trust. I am willing to believe her once, but... She looked at Chu Xia. I hope you think about it before doing it, otherwise, you will be in trouble for the rest of your life. Everyone will regret it. Thank you. Chu Xia smiled apologetically at Qi Xiang, because of her recklessness and her impulsiveness just now. If she had communicated with the other party earlier, this result might not have been like this. She also had some preconceptions. Qi Xiang didn't seem to be easy to talk to, so she felt that communication might delay time. Now was not the time to apologize, so she gathered her thoughts and continued what she had just unfinished. Seeing her carefully inserting needles into the chests of the wounded, everyone felt their hearts rise. Both the team members and the wounded were seeing this method for the first time, and they were hoping it would be useful. But it is inevitable to worry about. It really stopped, Zhao Zhu exclaimed, let go of Qi Xiang's hand, and looked at Chu Xia with some forgetfulness. Sister-in-law, you are so powerful, you are so powerful. If she was originally asked to accompany Chu Xia and protect Chu Xia because of her admiration for Zhou Mikang, then now, she really begins to admire Chu Xia and feels that her job is definitely worth it. Qi Xiang took a step forward and looked at the wound that was no longer bleeding. She was also surprised. She was an old nurse with more than 10 years of nursing experience. This matter still shocked her. Sorry. Qi Xiang took the initiative to apologize, which made Chu Xia feel embarrassed. Team leader Qi, your behavior makes me even more embarrassed. I was too self-righteous just now. Just don't argue with me. How can I argue with you? You are doing all this for the injured. He glanced at the name tag on Chu Xia's chest. The smile on Qi Xiang's face softened a little. Lin Chuxia, you are definitely a qualified doctor. I say this not because of your medical skills, but because of your courage and persistence. Although I don't understand it, I know from the way you just used it that you don't often do this kind of thing. As a beginner, you can do this kind of thing. Be brave and your future achievements will be absolutely limitless. The so-called first impression is really quite harmful. How could I have thought that the serious Qi Xiang would have such a broad mind? The smile on Chu Xia's face felt a little guilty. Thank you, team leader Qi, for the compliment. I will continue to work hard. In the past, she thought such words were official clichés, but at this time, now, these words were enough to express her feelings to her. The smile on Qi Xiang's face became more sincere. She reached out and patted Chu Xia's shoulder, then turned to look at a female soldier standing next to her. Li Xiao, go and see if Dr. Xiao's place is all right. If Li Yuan brought other doctors over and asked them to hurry up. Lin Chuxia, you and I will prepare the operating room first. Yes. The so-called operating room is a small single room separated from tent number 6. Such operating rooms are all available in double-numbered tents number 1 to number 12 to facilitate first aid when sick and injured patients appear at the same time. Zhao Zhu also followed in, and Qi Xiang waved to her, go out and do your work. Team leader. Go and do your work. Chu Xia interrupted Zhao Zhu and winked at her. Not everyone knew her identity. She didn't want to use her identity to pressure others, nor did she want some unnecessary things to happen because of it. Misunderstanding. Thinking that nothing would happen if only Qi Xiang and Chu Xia were in the tent, Zhao Zhu withdrew. Which hospital are you from? Noticing Chu Xia's skillful operation, Qi Xiang nodded with satisfaction and asked, looking at your age, how many years have you been working? Team leader, I am a second-year medical student and I have been an intern at 401 before. Ah, Qi Xiang looked at Chu Xia in a daze, are students so good now? Then you really impress me. Not bad, not bad. Your future is definitely limitless. Qi Xiang repeated what he said before, and Chu Xia felt even more embarrassed. After thinking about it, he explained, I am also the apprentice of Mr. Yuan and Mr. Qi, and I teach alone, so in terms of actual operation, it's got to be a little more skillful. Yes, yes. Qi Xiang slapped her forehead fiercely, look at my brain, as I said just now, why did I ignore this point? However, being able to become a student of Mr. Yuan and Mr. Qi, it shows that you are an absolute genius, and finally you have a genius who can compete with Captain Huang, haha. Well, I want to strive to become an all-round talent like Captain Huang. Right now. Chu Xia scratched her head in embarrassment, the actual operation level is still not good enough. Don't be anxious. In time, you can definitely be on par with Captain Huang. I'm always a good judge of people. You'll have no problem. To be honest, Qi Xiang thought she had no confidence. Chu Xia smiled helplessly and didn't explain any more. After the disinfection was completed, the wounded were brought in. Dr. Xiao also hurried over. Although it was cold winter weather, there were fine beads of sweat hanging on his forehead. Dr. Xiao, a bullet was lodged in the injured man's left chest. He was bleeding continuously. Comrade Lin Chuxia used Chinese medicine acupuncture to stop the bleeding. Now the injured man is still in a coma. Without waiting for Dr. Xiao to ask, Qi Xiang gave a detailed report on the condition of the injured. Listening to Qi Xiang's introduction, Dr. Xiao had already changed into surgical clothes and came over. He opened the patient's eyeballs, looked at them, and nodded, okay, let's start the operation. A white cloth was placed on the injured person's body, and the location of the wound was circled. When the knife was cut, the blood spread quickly, With his brain dulled, Chu Xia forced himself to regain consciousness quickly, took the hemostatic forceps and handed it to Drgiao. This was not the first time he stood on the operating table. After a brief period of discomfort, Chu Xia's subsequent operations were flawless. After the operation was completed and the injured was settled, Drgiao nodded appreciatively to Chu Xia. "Not bad, the little girl performed very well. You will be my assistant when I perform surgery from now on. When I came here, I still haven't found a suitable assistant. I didn't expect that I would find out today. By the way, who did the hemostasis of the injured person before?" The last sentence, Dr. Chiao looked at Qi Xiang and asked. Qi Xiang quickly said, "This is Comrade Lin Chuxia." "You?" Drgiao looked at Chu Xia up and down with a look of surprise. "The little girl is only 10 years old, right? I'm going to be 20 soon." "Who taught you this technique?" Drgiao asked. "Hemostasis was taught to me by Mr. Qi." "Mr. Qi?" Dr. Chiao looked at Chu Xia in shock for a moment. "Are you talking about Mr. Qi from Qi Yin?" "Yes." "Are you his student?" "Yes, in addition to being his student, he is also his apprentice." "There is a big difference between a student and an apprentice." Dr. Chiao looked obviously excited. "I never expected that Mr. Qi would accept such a young girl as his student. After all, you are my little junior sister." "Are you also a student of Mr. Qi?" Chu Xia looked surprised. She had never heard Mr. Qi say when he had accepted such a student. "I." Drgiao smiled sheepishly. "I have been with Mr. Qi for a year as an assistant, not a student. However, I think I should call Mr. Qi a teacher, so I asked, but unfortunately he didn't accept me. But no matter what, it's a fact that I studied with him, so it's okay to call you little junior sister, right?" Of course," Chu Xia said quickly, "as long as you don't think it's embarrassing for me to be your junior sister." Dr. Chiao smiled and said, "The person Mr. Qi is interested in is definitely not an ordinary person. He didn't accept me at that time because he thought I was too stupid. If you are embarrassed, then I will not be able to see anyone." While he was talking, another seriously ill patient was brought in. He was a soldier who was shot in the leg. He was still awake but gritted his teeth. When he was put on the bed, he looked at Dr. Chiao with a firm look on his face. "I know anesthesia." "Without anesthesia, do you want to die from the pain?" Drgiao frowned. "Comrade, your strength is very admirable, but if this operation does not include anesthesia, it will hurt you to death." "I can bear it, but I don't want to add anesthesia." The soldier looked persistent. "If you add anesthesia, it will be slow and it will affect the nerves." "I don't want to add it. I want to get better soon before I go and kill those people, avenge my brother. It's not located in the brain, nor in the central nervous system. Adding anesthetics won't have much impact." After a pause, Drgiao said, "Being brave is a good thing, but being brave in vain is meaningless. Hurry up. It's time to lie down for the operation. What if other wounded people are brought in? If someone else comes, don't worry about me. Anyway, it's not a fatal injury. I won't take anesthesia." "You're really stubborn." Dr. Chiao sighed and looked helplessly at Chu Xia. "Little junior sister, is there anything you can do?" "Ah." Chu Xia was stunned and realized that the other party was asking her if there was a way to directly anesthetize her without using anesthetics. Did she really think that she was a little miracle doctor? She looked at Drgiao with a dark look and shook her head. "No, I'm really not good at this. The teacher never taught me." "It's okay, I can really hold it in." Seeing Dr. Chiao looking at him, the soldier repeated his appeal without waiting for the other party to speak. R1152. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1190. 1 Update. M. Who is the cutest person? When she was studying this text, She lived in a peaceful era without any war. She would be moved by the teacher's mellow recitation, but she could not truly understand the essence of the article. But now, she understands that it turns out that some things really need to be experienced in order to truly understand them. In ancient times, bone scraping was used to treat poison, but that was due to limited conditions. Now, this young man, who is only 21 years old, is desperately enduring the pain of cutting out the flesh, which is as painful as the bone scraping. The towel was dyed red little by little, and the veins on his forehead, neck, and arms seemed to jump out of his body. However, from beginning to end, the little warrior did not make a sound. With a bang sound, the bullets taken out were thrown into the tray. Chusia, who had been tense, slowly exhaled and looked at the little soldier with eyes full of admiration. Noticing Chusia's eyes, the little soldier's already pale face showed a trace of blush. Dr. Chiao, who was doing the final suturing work, smiled and joked, "Little junior sister, it seems that it is very necessary to choose you as an assistant. At the critical moment, I can still use it as plasma." The little warrior's face turned even redder. Chu Xia looked at Dr. Chiao with a speechless expression. He was too unkind. Didn't you see that this little soldier endured it until he was about to go into shock? However, looking at the face of the little soldier, who was obviously blushing more than before, I felt that Dr. Chiao's behavior seemed to make sense. I just didn't know if the teacher, knowing her role, would stop her from being Dr. Chiao. Assistant. Come on. Dr. Chiao handed the suture needle to Chu Xia. Suturing the epidermis shouldn't be difficult for you, right? As for his junior sister, he certainly hopes to give the other party more opportunities to practice. After taking the needle and smiling gratefully at the other person, Chu Xia began to operate it seriously. It was really the first time for her to perform real person suturing. No matter how talented she was, Yuan Lao doted on her and only asked her to be an assistant, handing tools and observing, and it was impossible for her to perform the specific operations. It's not that she doesn't trust her, she hasn't graduated yet and hasn't obtained her medical license yet. If she really wants to get started, she must seek the opinions of her patients. As a result, no patient is willing to let her do it. After practicing countless movements, when it comes to actual combat, she still feels a little nervous and looks a little hesitant. "It's okay, I don't feel any pain," the little warrior encouraged Chu Xia with a trembling voice, and then bit the towel tightly. I calmed down my mind. Throwing away all distracting thoughts, my heart suddenly calmed down, and there was nothing else in my eyes except the wounds that needed to be sutured. The smooth movements caused Dr. Chiao's lips to show a smile of approval. He turned to look at Qi Xiang, who was standing aside. "My little junior sister is definitely a good candidate. There are some minor surgeries that she can perform." Knowing that the other party was asking for his opinion, he thought about it for a moment and then glanced at Chu Xia, who was moving skillfully and looking calm. Qi Xiang nodded, "I agree, but you still have to tell Captain Huang." Dr. Chiao smiled and said, "I will talk to Captain Huang later. After all, junior sister is assigned to team leader Song. Of course I have to seek team leader Song's opinion first. Just pretend." Qi Xiang shook her head in amusement. "If I don't agree, will you give up the idea?" "No." Dr. Chiao looked at Qi Xiang frankly, "but in principle, I still hope to get your support. There is absolutely a difference between doing things in a harmonious relationship and a disharmonious relationship. So you're just pretending. We've known each other for a day or two, so why don't you just say what you think?" "Chiao Jianhua, that's what I hate most about you, hypocrisy." "Okay, I'll change." Dr. Chiao smiled good-naturedly, "Next time if something happens, I'll tell you the truth, okay?" Qi Xiang, please take care of our little junior sister. It takes a lot of courage to come here at such a young age. Especially for a genius like her, it is even more difficult. While we give her a chance, we must also let her feel love from us. Qi Xiang stared at Dr. Jiao speechlessly. Do you think I would make things difficult for her? If I had that intention, would I leave her here as an assistant? Dr. Jiao quickly explained, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean that you would embarrass her. I meant that for an outstanding child like her, there will definitely be team members who are not very broad-minded and will exclude her. When the time comes, she will also. It's up to you to help me more. After thinking about it for a while, Qi Xiang nodded, yes, you are right. I'm afraid this is unavoidable. However, my prestige is limited to my own group. I can't control others. If there is anything wrong, you can't blame me if I'm honest. Look at what you said. It's too late for me to thank you for taking care of my little junior sister. How can I blame you? Her scope of activities is mainly within your group. As long as there are no problems in your group, there is a chance that other groups will try to embarrass her. Not much, is it? Yes, Qi Xiang nodded. Anyway, you'd better inform Captain Huang. I don't want such a good young man to devote his energy to fighting, but this is something that should be avoided no matter where he is. We all have been here since this time, so you understand without me saying more, right? Of course I understand. Dr. Jiao smiled bitterly and shook his head. I was often ostracized back then. It's not that I was so good, it was just because I was closer to Mr. Qi, and Mr. Qi taught me more. Those people, while denying the sarcasm, he secretly made a stumbling block. In fact, Mr. Qi was determined not to accept me as his apprentice, and it was for my own good. At that time, he shook his head and said no more. Yes, this child is lucky to be of the same generation as us. With a long sigh, Qi Xiang quickly calmed down. Okay, don't worry about me, I will definitely try my best to protect the seedling. It happened that Chu Xia also finished the final work, and turned around to look at the two of them gratefully. Senior brother, team leader Qi, actually, I don't like all kinds of fighting. If you can let me concentrate on doing what I like, son, that's the best, thank you. Qi Xiang waved her hand. Okay, we have reached an agreement, so don't say any more polite words. However, you must also be fully mentally prepared. If you are asked to undertake some minor operations, you will become very busy. Of course, I won't let you operate it right away. After all, you haven't really graduated yet and have less power than us, so we have to go to Captain Huang to discuss this matter. If she agrees, then for the next period of time, you will definitely have to work with Dr. Jiao as an assistant. When Dr. Jiao feels that you can fully operate, he will let you actually take up the job. This determines that whenever Dr. Jiao is on duty, you must be on duty with him. This work intensity is much more tiring than that of ordinary medical staff. At the same time, you must also be mentally prepared. If anything goes wrong, not only us, but you will also be punished. If you can accept this, we will go find Captain Huang after today's work is done. Dr. Jiao scratched his head in embarrassment. Without thinking much about these details, he felt that the other party's skills were very good, and this was the time when there was a shortage of people, so the right talents should be placed in the right positions. And now, being reminded by Qi Xiang, he also realized that he was too anxious. He himself is not afraid of taking responsibility. The key is that junior sister, at such a young age, if his decision causes irreparable consequences, or he really does a disservice. When Chu Xia looked at the faces of the two of them, she knew that what she had just thought was simple. She only thought that when she was in the hospital, she would be subject to the rules and regulations, and when she came here, she could handle things flexibly. But she didn't expect that it was the senior brother who, when he learned that she was Chi's old apprentice, he was so excited that he didn't even think about it. I'm inevitably a little disappointed. Quickly adjusting her mentality, Chu Xia looked at the two of them seriously. Regardless of success or failure, I am very grateful to senior brother and team leader Chi for their love and care for me. After all, this is not an external matter, it is about health and life. Therefore, regardless of whether Captain Huang agrees or not, I hope to exercise more with Dr. Chiao. Such an attitude made Chi Xiang look even more admiringly at Chu Xia. She had seen Chu Xia's excitement just now. Generally speaking, no matter how sensible children of this age are, they will inevitably be affected by the disappointment caused by surprise. Even if the mood is adjusted, it is difficult to let go at once. To put it mildly, Dr. Chiao's behavior just now was like teasing someone, but the little girl cannot complain at all. With this kind of tolerance, she is absolutely it's worth her help. Not to mention Dr. Chiao. He liked his junior sister very much. When he learned that he had done something stupid, he was worried about how to explain it to him. Unexpectedly, his junior sister didn't blame him at all. This resentment or lack of resentment can be clearly seen in the eyes. Don't worry, little junior sister, if Team Huang doesn't agree, then you will always be with me. I will support you in whatever matters are within my authority and you feel confident about it. I also supported the little warrior who had recovered from his illness said with a blush, although I don't know medical skills, what Dr. Xiaolin did just now was very good, because... He glanced at Dr. Chiao sheepishly, what she did made me feel less painful than what you did before, which is also a very, very important thing for us. He. Dr. Chiao chuckled twice, scratching his head, you didn't let me inject anesthesia, so I was anxious, so I went a little faster, which would inevitably make you feel unbearable. I'm not blaming you. The little soldier explained hurriedly, I saw that you and team leader Chi both attach great importance to Dr. Xiaolin, so I wanted to prove it. 1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1191. Domain name of this website for pure text online reading /u003c, /u003cb /u003e /u003c/b /u003e /u003c/ For simultaneous reading on mobile phone, please visit /u003c/br /u003e. Second update. Are you sure? Huang Sui looked at Dr. Chiao and Chi Xiang with some surprise. Both of them were stable, but the request made now made her a little unable to accept it. Of course she also knew that Lin Chuxia was a very talented girl, but after all, the other party had only systematically studied medical skills for more than 2 years, and most of them were theoretical. But what is needed here is entirely practice. It is absolutely impossible for an inexperienced doctor to be a field doctor. What's more, she is a female student who is not even a doctor. I'm sure Dr. Chiao looked at Huang Sui seriously, all the operations today were performed by Lin Chuxia. Whether it was the reaction ability or the actual operation, I can't find any fault. I believed what I saw and insisted that what I did was right. At this time, while we are short of nursing staff, we are also short of courageous and experienced doctors. If Captain Huang has any questions, you can invite Lin Chuxia to be your assistant and let you observe her. If you think she is suitable, you can give her privileges, okay. I also agree with what Dr. Chiao said. You know that I am always cautious, but what I saw today makes me feel that Lin Chuxia is absolutely qualified both in terms of medical skills and mental skills. If such a talent were not here, even if it was clear that she was capable, it would not be possible for her to stand on the operating table so early. However, now that she has such an opportunity, why not give her training? Or, because of our decision, an excellent doctor can benefit patients earlier. At the same time, Such a decision can also give a prospective doctor stronger confidence. Let her future achievements be more outstanding, then our decision will be more worthwhile. Qi Xiang's talk made Huang Sui look a little more serious. We have been working together for more than a year. If Dr. Chiao occasionally behaves a little off the wall, Qi Xiang is absolutely stable. Anyway, so far, she has never seen Qi Xiang do anything out of the ordinary. A serious-looking woman. In fact, he is kind-hearted and very responsible in his actions, but he never goes too far. Now, even she spoke for Lin Chuxia like this. Or, she really needed to seriously consider these two people's proposals. Of course, she also knew exactly what her decision would mean. If successful, they will all be heroes with discerning eyes. If it fails, they must share the responsibility. That sweet and charming face flashed in her mind, and she became slightly distracted. In terms of relationship, she can be regarded as the other party's prospective cousin-in-law. But initially, the two of them should be considered enemies. Whether it's from the Huang family or from her fate with Zhou Mikang. Or when she was first introduced to Zhou Mikang, she was a little repelled. But later, she actually accepted it. As a result, she was disliked by the other party. If it weren't for the genius girl's self-esteem that prevented her from doing anything extraordinary, or she would have taken the initiative to pursue Zhou Mixang. How did she feel when she learned that the other party was getting married? Anger. Yes, these two words were the best interpretation of her mood at that time. She didn't understand why he chose a girl who was not as good as her in all aspects when he looked down on such an outstanding girl. Especially, he took the initiative to force it. Of course, she deliberately inquired about these. After all, he was the first man she had ever cared about, and the first person she had ever wanted to marry from the bottom of her heart. No matter how proud she was, no matter how strong her self-esteem, at that time, it was inevitable to do some irrational things. Even for a moment, she had the urge to go to Zhou Mikang to redeem her, but it turned out that she really couldn't do such a thing. She had already reached the door of Zhou's house, and she backed down again. So, at that time, she both despised and admired Yamiru. At the very least, she could attack without any scruples for her love, unlike her, whose happiness slipped away from her fingers in a moment of hesitation. After that, she has been paying attention to the development of the two of them. When she learned that she went to 401, she also put aside her arrogance and fought for the opportunity to stay in 401. In fact, she had no other intention, she just wanted to see her up close. She knew her own character too well. Even if she regretted it, she would never do anything to steal someone else's husband. She did so because she was unwilling to do so and wanted to know more clearly. Moreover, her main purpose is to avenge her elder brother. In the Huang family, the most pitiful person is the eldest brother, and the person who loves her the most is also the eldest brother. The good attitude others have towards her is all because of her talent and the benefits she can bring to the Huang family. Only the eldest brother truly loves her as a relative. It's a pity that God is unfair and made the eldest brother suffer such a hardship. Later, he was taken advantage of by Yamiru and eventually lost his life. If he wasn't really devoted, if he wasn't really frustrated, how could he end his life in such an extreme way? Therefore, she must avenge her eldest brother. It was like killing two birds with one stone. She went to 401 and had a relationship with Lin Chuxia. From the initial disdain and disgust, she gradually became able to see the other person's advantages, and then finally gave up the idea of revenge. Yes, she had the idea of breaking up the other person. It wasn't that she wanted to marry into the Zhou family, but she just wasn't willing to be rejected by Zhou Mixang, and she wasn't willing to see a girl who was not as good as her live a happier life than she did. But step by step, she found that something she thought was easy to do became more and more difficult, and in the end, she almost got involved. Fortunately, She was not as extreme and crazy as Yamiru, and finally it was Kankan who stopped the steps that were about to head towards the cliff. When she agreed to be with Lin Venhang, she actually wanted to observe their lives up close. However, as the Huang family became more and more excessive, her heart really gradually turned towards Lin Venhang. With her character, it was difficult for her to fall deeply in love with a man in her life. Even if Zhou Mikang had agreed to be with her, and no matter how good Zhou Mikang was, she would not be able to regard him as her supporter. This is her character. She feels that she can do anything that men can do, so why should she be humbled by them? Well, in her opinion, a woman's meekness means being humble. Therefore, her subsequent dependence on Lin Venhang was really a rare thing for her, and it also allowed her to gradually understand her own heart. She was more unwilling and curious about Zhou Mixang, when it came to feelings. Come on, there really isn't any. Or, if you really find such a man, you can't get along with her. Both of them are too strong, how can they really be harmonious? After thinking about it, when she looked at Lin Chuxia again, her perspective was different. To be fair, she felt that she was actually a very thoughtful girl, but that was all. Now, Dr. Chiao and Qi Xiang come together to fight for Lin Chuxia's opportunity, which is equivalent to putting a difficult problem in front of her. If she agrees, maybe one day she will have to take the blame for Lin Chuxia. Are you willing? This is what she is thinking about. She never likes to regret later. This is her character. She must think clearly about anything and know that she will definitely not regret it before she makes a decision. No matter whether she is right or wrong in the future, no matter what she will bear in the future, as long as she makes a decision after thinking it through clearly, she will never regret it. I want to talk to Lin Chuxia and find her finally. Huang Sui looked at Dr. Chiao and Qi Xiang and said, "It's not that I don't want to give you face, this is a big deal after all, and I still want to know more clearly." "Okay, I'll go find her now," Qi Xiang said and retreated, while Dr. Chiao sat there without moving, and didn't say anything to persuade her. "Dr. Chiao can go and get busy." Huang Sui immediately issued an eviction order. "I want to talk to Lin Chuxia alone, without anyone interfering in the conversation." "Okay." After answering, Dr. Chiao did not stand up, but looked at Huang Sui seriously. "I have no intention of interfering. I just hope that Captain Huang can make an exception. Such talents are really rare. To put it bluntly, if she is given a chance, her future should be no worse than Captain Huang. How about irritating me?" Huang Sui raised a smile on her lips. "Dr. Chiao, there are not many people who can do such a thing to you. It seems that you absolutely approve of Lin Chuxia." "Yes," Dr. Chiao nodded affirmatively. "In addition to her own abilities, I am also very convinced of Mr. Qi's vision. Being accepted by Mr. Qi as his apprentice shows that she is definitely outstanding. Moreover, she has been with Mr. Qi for more than a year. Whether in theory or practice, Mr. Qi teaches me with all his heart. In some aspects, she is definitely better than me. Such a talent should be given a chance to shine at such a time. If Captain Huang cares about it, I can issue a military order and I will be responsible for any problems that arise. The more you use this provocation, the more addictive you become. First you insinuate that if I don't agree, I'm afraid that the rising star will surpass me. Now you insinuate that if I don't agree, I'm afraid that I'll take responsibility. Dr. Chiao, we haven't been working together for a day or two. I'm here. Is this the impression you have in your mind?" Huang Sui knocked on the table. "Don't you think too badly of me? I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to insinuate Captain Huang, or maybe I was really anxious." Sighing, Dr. Chiao smiled bitterly. "Because of the shock of that year, I especially hope that Master's medical skills can save more people. Chinese medicine is really too broad and profound, or it is not as good as Western medicine for acute diseases, but when it comes to chronic diseases and long-term health, Western medicine is absolutely incomparable to Chinese medicine, and Lin Chuxia has some very practical skills that can be used at this time. It couldn't be more appropriate. To be continued. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1192. 3 updates. Novel LW and XS 520. You really aroused my curiosity. Huang Sui looked at Dr. Chiao with a smile. Dr. Chiao, don't worry, if Lin Chuxia is really like what you said, I will definitely not bury her. But no matter what, I have to understand it clearly before making a decision, right? The cleaning up work of the battle is not over yet. Dr. Chiao should have more important things to do now. If it is really for Lin Chuxia's good, Dr. Chiao should stop interfering with me. No matter whether it is to present facts and reason, or to provoke others, please stop using it, okay? Having said this, it would be really out of character for me to keep talking here. Dr. Chiao stood up, politely excused himself and left. Qi Xiang sent Chu Xia to the door of Huang Sui's office tent and left. With a long breath, Chu Xia stood up straight. Report. Please come in. After Chu Xia sat down, Huang Sui looked her up and down and said nothing for a long time. Knowing what the other party was looking for, Chu Xia was not in a hurry and allowed the other party to look at her without any unnatural or impatient expression. What if? After a pause, Huang Sui looked at Chu Xia seriously. If you were asked to practice for a few days and then go to the operating table, how would you feel? Gratitude. Other than that, I'm still grateful. Chu Xia looked at her straightly. If we follow the normal procedures, I would definitely not be qualified to stand on the operating table now. However, after studying with Mr. Yu and Mr. Yun for so long, I am very confident about myself. Have confidence. If the organization is willing to give me this opportunity to make an exception, I will try my best to achieve good results. As for mistakes, I can make absolutely zero mistakes. I'm not bragging, nor am I overestimating my abilities. I believe that I have this ability, because when I started studying, 2 masters told me that everything else can have errors, but doctors can't. Any slight error may lead to the end of a life. As a doctor, you save people, not harm them. Without an absolutely correct attitude, it is absolutely impossible to become a qualified doctor. I never dare to forget the teachings of my masters. Therefore, I would never dare to do anything that exceeds my ability. The fact that I dare to agree shows that I am absolutely sure. If I am an irresponsible person, I may directly ask me to operate from now on, because I believe that even if I am allowed to operate from now on, the chance of my making a mistake will be very small. However, for the sake of the patient and for an absolute zero error, I still hope that I can stay with Dr. Chiao for a while before talking about it. No matter how short of a medical talent there is now, it won't happen right now, let alone just because of me. There will be no dramatic reversal. I still have this self-awareness. Okay, Huang Sui nodded. I know you somewhat well. Since you can say this, it means you are really sure. I can promise you that no matter what the outcome is, we will bear it together. Thank you. Chu Xia stood up and saluted the other party. Thank you, Team Huang, for your trust. I don't want to explain more or use polite words. I will use my actual actions to explain this matter. Okay, I like such a straightforward character. Huang Sui pointed to the seat opposite. Sit down, I have a few more words to say to you. I heard that in addition to a few friends with whom you have a close relationship, the first people to support you include Yamiru. Yes, Chu Xia nodded. I was also surprised, but I haven't seen her since then, so I don't know what she was thinking. To be honest, what she is doing now is different from her. There is a huge difference in personality from before, or maybe it has really changed. She must have really changed. Huang Sui's eyes also flashed with confusion. She used to be the person I hated the most. Because of her, my eldest brother lost his life, and I also lost my most loved one in the world. My people. I vowed to let her get the retribution she deserves. I thought I did it, but unexpectedly, she came here again. To be honest, when I first saw her, my thought was that if it didn't work once, I would do it again. But after this period of time, I found that she seemed to have really changed. However, they say that what is easy to change is hard to change, so I couldn't be sure whether it was true or just pretending. But after what happened today, I feel that no matter whether she is still attached to the feelings she had for you and Joe Mikang, there is one thing she has really changed, and that is her respect for life. I am telling you this because I hope you can put down your guard and also pay attention to observation. No matter what our relationship was like in the past, now, I sincerely hope that you will be well. Chu Xia nodded and responded, okay, I know how to do it. There is something I need to explain to you. After a slight hesitation, Huang Sui looked at Chu Xia seriously. In theory, Lin Venhang, the second brother, is not very qualified, but his unqualification is all because of I. If I did have the intention of taking advantage of him when I first got together, then, after so many things, I really feel that I have found the right person. However, Lin Venhang has always been very concerned about the estrangement between him and you. He wants to make up for it, but he doesn't know how to do it. Although he doesn't say it, I can see it. Therefore, after I learned that you would come, I went to Mr. Joe to tell him about the arrangements for you. Maybe Mr. Joe had some misunderstandings about my approach. I didn't think too much, but his expression at that time was really a bit disdainful. After thinking about it for a while, I also felt that what I did was a bit redundant, but I couldn't do it if I asked him to explain it to him. I hope you can help tell Mr. Joe that I really didn't do anything to him by showing my face to him. Any other ideas? Haha. Huang Sui shook her head with a wry smile, with a look of helplessness on her face. I hope I'm overthinking it, but Mr. Joe's attitude when he saw me these 2 days really made me think too much. Okay, I will tell him about it. After a pause, Chu Xia asked the question that he had been holding back for a whole day. Didn't I say before that every battle had minimal casualties? But looking at today's situation, although there were no casualties, but there are a lot of injuries. Is this a special situation today, or has it been like this before, and we all have different judgments? It should be because the measurement standards are different. For the front line, such casualties are extremely small. Compared with the past, today's battle is considered medium-sized. Although it was an enemy surprise attack, because we were fully prepared, the opponent did not take any advantage. We injured 102 people slightly, 15 people seriously injured, and 3 people seriously injured. The enemy's data there should be 3 to 5 times as many as us, and on top of that, there should be a death toll. So in conclusion, we still won a beautiful victory, and all this is indeed because of your Mr. Joe's unique vision and good leadership. Therefore, apart from the different measurement standards, there is absolutely no exaggeration. Ingredients. I understand. Chu Xia sighed in a depressed mood. I always thought that the so-called basically no casualties meant that there were really no casualties. It turns out that minor injuries on the front line are not considered injuries. Huang Sui explained her doubts. Simple bandaging of injuries does not count. If it was in the past, let alone bandaging injuries, seriously injured people would have to persist until the end of the battle, like the little soldier who was not given anesthesia. Requirements were extremely common in those days. I understand. Chu Xia forced a smile, and then her face fell. I hate war. I hate it too. I believe that no normal person would like war, but... Shaking her head, Huang Sui's eyes also flashed with helplessness. This is beyond our control. There is always no shortage of pacifism in this world. There is no shortage of war lunatics. That's true. Chu Xia nodded in agreement. In the era she was in, we were in a peaceful era, but there was never a shortage of countries that were invaded. So fundamentally speaking, war is just a means, not an absolute method. A prosperous country and a strong people, and unity is the best way to ensure peace. Really, you can directly enter the internship stage. Zhao Bingbing looked at Chu Xia with a look of disbelief. I knew you were very powerful before, but I never thought you were so powerful. No, in the future I will. If I follow you, you must not abandon me. Congratulations. Wu Jingbo also reached out to Chu Xia with excitement. Although I am a little envious of your opportunities, I am more happy for you, and at the same time, I am also happy for myself. With your precedent, as long as if you work harder, you will definitely have a chance. Lin Chuxia, you are so awesome, I will follow your example, Lu Xiaomei said while blinking her eyes. Bingbing, and I have the same request, please don't leave her behind. Just don't leave me behind. Chu Xia secretly breathed a sigh of relief. On the way back, she had been worried about the distance between the closest people. Wu Jingbo and Wu Jingbo are the most familiar and close to each other, but they are relatively far away from each other in the small group. Zhao Bingbing and Zhao Bingbing can only be regarded as standing at the same starting point because of the common goal. As for Lu Xiaomei, then they were just ordinary friends at best. Suddenly, she was so far away from them that she was really afraid that they would stay away from her. It would be so pitiful if she didn't even have a good friend around her. Even if there were Zhou Mikang, Zhao Qiliang, Luan Dejiang, and Lin Wenbin, water from afar could not quench the thirst for nearness, and they were not the ones who were with her every day. Now, she is finally relieved. Sure enough, God was still kind to her. No matter where she went, her luck was absolutely great. She is also an official intern. Thinking about it, I feel so excited. She took a huge step all of a sudden. R1152.